This is one of a series of videotapes featuring Dr. Richard Bandler, who is the co-originator and developer of neuro-linguistic programming. With me is Michael Sajase, serving as narrator. And Michael, we've certainly been extremely fortunate to have Dr. Bandler in this series.
Bill, I think it's a real unique opportunity to be able to have Dr. Bandler into a studio situation where we can do some high-quality tapes, as well as be able to provide follow-up of those tapes, 8 months down the road. And I'm real excited about this project.
I think that is a unique feature. We've both had a lot of experience in doing clinical work in which you work with someone in an audience, or you work with someone in your office, and you really never know whether what you did was effective. And this is often true of professionals, but we're going to have a uniqueness here that 8 months later we're going to interview the people that Dr. Bandler worked with.
And not only that, too, Bill, it's been my experience, and I think yours too, that many of the training tapes I saw as a student and as a graduate trainee, you saw someone work with a subject and then the tape ended, but you never knew what happened to them. And I think the fact that we have decided to make this project to go back and look 8 months later at the follow-up lends something to this tape that's kind of unique.
Yes. One of the things, certainly we have a manual that goes with the videotape, and we're going to be explaining to people more in depth about neuro-linguistic programming. But would you take just a minute, as people are watching the tape, of what is neuro-linguistic programming that we'll be referring to as NLP? Could you just speak to that a moment, and maybe how is it different from other approaches that are often used in therapy?
I think there's a lot of answers to that question, Bill, but for me, the most distinguishing thing that I find exciting about is the fact that NLP, although it is a model and a modeling process, offers us an opportunity to begin to understand the internal structure of someone's experience. And as you will notice on the various tapes, you'll see Dr. Bandler beginning to work with someone's internal experience. And
rather than looking simply at externally what their behavior is.
Precisely. For instance, he may begin to, in one situation, examine someone's internal images or someone's internal auditory, how they talk to themselves. And as we will see and hear on these tapes, those internal experiences or the structure of those experiences have a tremendous impact and influence on their feeling state as well as their external behavior.
And one of the amazing things for me that I enjoy time after time watching is that as you watch Mike in this tape working with Dr. Bandler, that the body itself tells you what's happening internally, particularly in one of the things that Dr. Bandler has helped discover in terms of eye movements. And as people began to internally make pictures, that their eyes move upward. And you can watch Mike in this tape as he visualizes things. You can watch his eyes move up to make those pictures. And Dr. Bandler comments about that several times.
I think one of the uniquenesses of NLP is that since it's based on sensory information, how people process information, and there are cues that you can use like eye movements. We call them eye accessing movements, the fact that most people access visual images by looking up. Most people access auditory information by looking somewhere else.
In other words, when they're talking to themselves?
When they're talking to themselves or talking externally very often. As well as people will move their eyes in a different direction when they're feeling something. The fact that you, as an observer, can begin to notice this gives you an indication of how the individual you're working with is processing information.
So as we watch for this tape, one of the things that the person learning about NLP should look for, one of the times here he finds out that Mike is doing something very unique that's creating a problem for him. That is, while he's dealing with people externally, he's talking to himself internally. And he really discovers that by watching his eye movements.
And what's fascinating about it, if you watch the tape closely, is Dr. Bandler discovers that before Mike discovers it.
Yes, yes. Anything else that people should look for in this tape?
The thing I would ask them to use their senses of to listen for and to look for are also Dr. Bandler's unique interaction with this individual, as well as notice the changes that Mike begins to experience. And you may notice facial gestures or his coloring or his eye movements or his level of comfortableness or tenseness in his body as he begins to continually interact with Dr. Bandler.
How would you explain, too, Dr. Bandler seems to be really having a good time and at times almost playing games with this particular client? How would you explain
Well,
that?
one of the things that I've learned, and I think you've learned too from our personal experiences with Dr. Bandler, is that he always knows what he's doing. And one of the things we would caution, though, is it looks very simple as Dr. Bandler does this. He's using some very sophisticated NLP techniques as he interacts with Michael. I believe he's using his humor as a way of helping Michael relax and developing rapport with him, and giving him also more and more information about Michael as he interacts with him.
Yes. So we're very, very happy to introduce to you Dr. Bandler as he works with Mike.
Okay, now, what's your name? Your name is Michael, right?
Right.
I can remember that because I thought you were somebody else earlier.
Right. There are enough Michaels.
There are enough Michaels, yeah. I figure if you use Michael, Richard, Bob, Gary, you know, and a few names like that, you get about a 1 in 10 chance of saying the right name anyway.
Right.
Especially with Catholics. Can't mess with Catholics. It's something a little.
Pat and Mike.
Yeah, Pat, Mike, you know. Sort of narrows it down. Okay, and so what brings you here? You just weren't walking down the hall. You obviously want something.
Right. Some behaviors that I run on myself that
You
hinder
run
me.
on yourself? No, that's a new one. I haven't had anybody who runs on themselves yet. Come on, give me a hint.
Give you a hint.
I'm not a good guesser.
Oh,
See,
good
I don't.
guesser.
I don't know. They don't tell me anything
Okay.
ahead of time.
I run feelings that are unpleasant, and
Which ones?
I want to get away from them.
The particular ones?
I,
For any
Yes,
particular ones,
yeah.
or are we just going to? You just want to get
anxiety,
anxiety,
fear,
fear,
a yuck feeling in my stomach, my
yuck
chest.
feelings. So, but these are different ones, or you run them all together, or
Run them together.
you run them together? How do you know when to do it?
When I'm in the right situation. The situation says, time to do it. Or I say to myself, it's time to do it.
How does if I had to do it, let's say I had to do this, how would I know which situations I was going to do it in as opposed to which ones I wouldn't? See, the problem with you have to know when to have your problems. It's like disappointment. It requires adequate planning.
Yes, so how would you know when to do it? Okay,
Yeah.
specifically, you get the feeling first. You get some of the feeling.
Nah, see, you have to know when to have the feelings.
Know when to have the feeling.
Right. You're not just walking down the street
Okay.
and get struck down with a yuck feeling.
Okay. In talking with, communicating with authority figures.
Oh, with authority figures.
Right.
Hey, we can test this one, can't we? Okay. How come you want to change this? What's so bad about feeling bad? I mean, how would your life be different if you didn't have the yuck feeling?
Because I could communicate more effectively with those who I want to communicate with.
Maybe.
Okay.
At least you'd be more comfortable when you did.
All right, it'd be more comfortable.
Okay. So when you communicate with authority figures, how do you know which people are authority figures?
How do I know?
I mean, first you have to make a complicated decision. Is this an
Okay.
authority figure? And then you can know to feel yuck or not.
Those people who are in a position of some power with respect to my situation, like sales manager at the office.
People who sign checks.
Yes, definitely. A boss.
I'll tell you a funny story. I recently broke my arm, and I have a stick shift of a car, and I couldn't drive to a meeting of entrepreneurs for a business thing. And so I hired a limousine and had the driver drive me down and went to my meetings and then drove back where I had to go. And the driver was a black guy, and he had on his little suit and stuff. But we were shooting the shit, and he took his hat off and threw it down, and he came in and he helped me clean up my office a little bit because I had been gone. And we were kind of talking, and we had a cocktail, and then the two guys showed up. That one guy was president of a very, very large corporation who has recently left that position and wants to be involved in a smaller business because he's 60-some-odd years old now. another guy that's a millionaire, and there was supposed to be one other person coming. And they assumed that the black chauffeur was the big bucks millionaire from Texas. And they kept talking to him and stuff, and he said, well, I know you guys have to talk and stuff, so I'm going to go down and cafe, and I'll sit and have coffee until you guys are done, and laughed. And this guy who was president of the big company, he turned around and he said, God, he said, I blew it. He said, what did I do? Right? And I said, blew what? And he said, oh, I just blew the whole deal. I mean, you know, and I said, what are you talking about? And he says, well, that was the guy from Texas. The guy said, no, it wasn't. And you see, he had all these bad feelings, and it had been a mistake.
Right.
So when you have your yuck feeling, you have to be a little bit more careful. Now, how do you make the yuck feeling? See, because you can't just poof have the feeling. You have to do something. You have to make a few pictures first or something, don't you?
Well, I talk to myself.
Okay.
So,
what kinds of things do you say?
Oh my God, it's time to feel this way.
Okay, but don't you make them pictures? I mean, of something terrible happening, or do you see yourself with this person internally, or what? You have to do something.
I'm not sure what I do.
Well, I know that's why I'm here.
Okay.
I have to get you to stop and figure out how to do it,
Okay, I'll figure it out.
or you don't get your check.
Okay. Seems to me like I talk to myself first.
Well,
and
what
go
kind of
into
things
it.
do you say, you know?
Oh my God, you know, I want out of this situation, or
You what?
I want out of this situation.
Okay, but how do you know you want out of it? Or you...
I want to get away from the feelings. I want to.
Okay, but
So-
before you have the feeling, though, so you have to back up.
Okay.
With that person, I mean, you have to know, you have to have something to make the yuck out of. I mean, do you see yourself being small, or, I mean, you know... Do you have the yuck going into the situation, or...
Yes. Yeah.
Aha, see, we're backing up here now.
Okay.
How do you know when to start yucking? When's the last
Right,
time?
it
When's
needs
the
to-
last time you did this? See, let's go for a little.
This morning.
This morning, okay.
Yes.
When did you start feeling yuck this morning?
After the phone rang, and I was into a conversation.
Okay. And when it rang, there was somebody on the other end,
Yes.
and you didn't want to be talking to that person.
Oh, I did.
You
and
did.
didn't.
You
Both.
did and you didn't.
Right.
Okay. How do you know? What about it? How do you know you didn't? Did you begin to see that something was?
I wanted to communicate a situation to him, which was unpleasant for me, and I was not really wanting to do for fear of the
doesn't-
response, or
So did you see him responding badly, or
no,
is it tone, or?
no. It seems to me like it's a fear. It's
Okay, well, when you have a fear, right, how do you know which fear of... See, like this morning it was, you were afraid of what happening.
okay. I was afraid of what?
I mean, you don't go around being afraid of chairs and pieces of tile, and...
Fear of losing a friend.
Did you see him actually, I mean, how'd you know you were going to lose him? Did you tell yourself?
I was telling myself that.
See, you're making
he
making
won't-
pictures now, see.
Okay.
I can see you making pictures.
Okay.
Okay. And as many pictures as you've been making here, I just know that you had to be making some.
Okay.
So, what were you making pictures of when you were talking to him?
Pictures of myself?
You saw yourself talking to him?
Maybe.
It's probably why you dress so neatly. You can see yourself.
Okay.
See, the gentleman that was up here before didn't see himself in the car that much. See himself being afraid.
Yes.
When he saw himself, it's different. It's real different than to see yourself in a situation. Try this. Can you see yourself riding in the front seat of a roller coaster?
Yes.
Can you see what you would see if you were actually there?
Yes.
Are they different?
Yes.
How are they different?
And when I'm seeing what I see when I'm there, I'm looking from the seat of the roller
You have
coaster.
the feelings of being on a roller coaster, somewhat. Okay. Whereas if you see yourself there, it's like watching somebody else be in a roller coaster.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you go back and remember and see and hear the same thing that you saw and heard at the time, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Excuse me. See and hear the same thing that occurred the last time you had this, then do you get back the same kind of yuck feeling?
No. Or vaguely.
Vaguely?
Vaguely, yes. Not to the extent I can remember it.
You can remember it.
Yeah.
But if you go back to like the conversation, or pick just the worst example of feeling yuck you can think of.
Okay.
Just the most really intense example you can find.
All right.
And see and hear the same thing you saw and heard at the time it was occurring. You can close your eyes if you want to really get into it.
Okay.
Can you get back the feelings too when you do that? Do you hear the same things you heard then?
Part of it.
Well, you can't leave out part.
I was talking. I don't know. I don't remember what I was saying now, though. If I were hearing what I was hearing, I'd hear myself talking. I'd hear hear the words.
Okay.
And I can remember. I can get back the tone of my voice more than actually what was.
Okay. What do you know what you were seeing at the time?
Perhaps myself.
Perhaps.
All right, myself.
Okay. Now, if you see yourself and you're watching yourself while you're talking out loud, do you talk internally at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
So you got two fucking conversations going on.
Okay.
No wonder you don't remember what you said.
All right.
If you ever said the wrong thing,
Yes.
it's probably because you weren't listening on the outside. You were listening on the inside.
Okay.
You can get in a lot of trouble with women doing that. Because they hear every word.
Uh-huh.
Say. Now, has it ever occurred to you to stop talking on the inside and listen to yourself on the outside?
Yes.
Not easy, is it?
No.
Okay, now, how would you like to feel instead of yuck?
Confident. In control.
Of what?
Myself. My voice.
Well, that requires, you don't have to have control to do that, you just have to listen.
Okay.
Okay, but see, is it that you want to be confident? You just want confidence is a boring feeling as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I mean, how would you like to feel when you're in a situation like that?
How would I like to feel?
Yeah, let's say I had a bag of feelings, and I could make it, for example, that when you're in that situation, you get to have any feeling you wanted. So you came in here and asked to not have certain feelings.
Right.
I do that with a knife. I can make it so you'll never have any of those feelings again.
Oh, really?
We go out behind the building, I take the knife, I slit your throat, and you'll never feel it again.
Oh, okay.
It's very permanent, and it works, too.
No, we won't do that.
Okay, we'll skip over that one, then.
Yes.
See, because if people say they want to not have a certain feeling, of course, they don't have any of the rest of them.
Okay, well, I don't want those feelings in certain situations.
Good. I
Okay.
thought you might like to keep them around for other
All
situations.
right, I will.
But you have to go, see, we have to put something in its place. See, you know, I could choose outright, see, if I'm going to be the one that chooses, I'll pick terror, unadulterated, trembling terror, and then I'll come out with another good tape, say. But, I mean, what would you like to, confidence is kind of,
Don't like that. Huh?
how would you like to feel? What would be the most useful feeling that you know of?
Exhilarated, excited.
You want it to be fun, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, exhilarated, excited. Do you want to, you ever, I mean, is it a situation? See, I find that I like the more juicy ones. Exhilarated sounds so intellectual.
Well, how would you like for it to sound?
Well, I want something where, what kind of feelings do you have when you're thrilled and exhilarated and
What kind of feeling?
kind of get down greasy at the same time? Yeah, that one there. I like that one. That's a good one. We're going to hold on to that. Good.
All
Now,
right.
you go back and pick the worst example one again. You must have seen something at the time it was occurring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, see what you saw, and go back and listen. Just take this with you, that's all. That's right, close your eyes. And begin to run through different times and places and memories. And between each one, go back to the one that gave you this feeling. Exhilarated plus. That's right. Keep this with you. Should take that everywhere you go.
All right.
Makes your skin glow pretty. You got some playful parts in there. I can see that.
That's
they
right.
sneak out when you drink, don't they?
Yes.
They do. I thought they did.
Okay.
Somebody once told me life was too serious, and I told them, I said, in the game of life, there are no conscientious objectors. When they deal a hand, they may not do it twice, but it doesn't mean you can't deal from the bottom of the deck. Shove cards up your sleeve, and you can take the worst of situations and make them into something fun. Do you go back between that feeling between each of the memories? Go back to the memory that, and I said, can you think of can you think of a time when you were when I asked about something that's exhilarating and a little get down greasy, that one there. Do you know what memory that is? Don't tell us out loud. This is not an R-rated film.
Yes.
Okay, then, what I want you to do is to take that. Okay. Now, if you were that person, can you see yourself being that way in these situations? Take that kind of the way you act in that and see yourself being that way in these kinds of situations. If you had this feeling, right, the feeling of, let's give it a name, exhilaration plus, or I don't,
Okay.
sounds like a new vitamin.
Right.
I take exhilaration plus every day. Okay, take that one, exhilaration plus. Okay, and see yourself being that kind of person in a couple of the past experiences you had. In other words, go back. We call this change history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't like your past, make up a new one. All criminals know about that. See?
Right.
Okay, go back and change a couple of them and watch yourself go through those and see if you like the way you would act. It's all right to amuse yourself, too, in these constructions. Just close your eyes and let your imagination run away with you. That's when life is its best anyway. You like the way that looks? Smirking is allowed.
Yes.
You do. How'd you like to have that? I'm having a sale here today.
I like it.
You sound so enthusiastic about it. Is that what you'd like? It's to be careful, because I give people these things, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe not. I want something different.
Okay, well, why don't you just go in there and change it till you get it the way you like it?
Okay.
But don't be too reserved, okay?
All right.
After all, the guy before you is now on vacation somewhere.
I'm not sure what I want.
Well, you had 2 seconds to decide. You don't know what you want.
Right.
Well, that's okay. That's kind of like an adventure then, isn't it? Maybe you would like to be different in a whole bunch of them. In other words, make an image of yourself the way you are now in one of those situations. Nice, big, bright picture in your head, right? Complete with sound and motion. I even put music with some of mine.
All right. Circus music.
Circus music. It's exactly what I do most of the time.
All right.
Keeps my sense of humor up.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you keep looking at that image and then step inside the image and see if you can recapture the feeling. In other words, can you still feel yuck?
A little.
A little?
A little.
Oh, come on. Go back and try and get it. Do you feel any of exhilaration plus?
No.
Oops. Being attacked in here by the microbes. Nope, what?
No, I don't feel exhilaration plus.
You don't, huh?
No.
Okay. Do you feel... Can you go back and get a hold of the yuck? Could you still feel yuck?
I don't feel it now.
Well, yeah.
Could I, in the future, feel it?
Well, I mean, maybe sometime in some place. I just have this... I'm not a therapist, by the way. Therapists have intuitions. I just lie.
Okay.
I go, I have an intuition. Right? You're wearing a brown jacket. I have an intuition that you're going to have some difficulty feeling it.
Good.
Why don't you, right now, stop for a second and see if you can go inside and create a situation in which you would know that if you even thought about it, you'd know that you were going to feel.
Okay.
See if you can go in and make up some yuck.
No.
You didn't try very hard. Come on, you know, what is that, a 2-second try? If I'm going to test my work here, you know, you got to get in there and fight to have those bad feelings.
All right.
After all, you were the master of it. Weren't you?
Yes. No.
Can't do it, huh?
Right.
Okay. Real exciting. Okay, let's stop here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been approximately 8 months since Dr. Bandler worked with Mike in dealing with authority figures and some other perhaps interesting sidelines to that. This is a follow-up of that particular session that we have Mike with us today. Glad to welcome you here. We wanted to have a chance after this period of time to find out what Dr. Bandler had done from your perspective and what kinds of things have been effective for you. And maybe Michael would like to kind of set the stage for that and ask the first question.
Mike, as you look back on the work that you did with Dr. Bandler, for you, what was the most important thing that you learned or that happened during that session?
That what was causing the problem that I wanted to change was an internal conversation at the time that I was trying to do something else.
And as a result of having that internal conversation with yourself, what happened?
I didn't do as I wanted to do with what I was doing externally, like talking with other people. And I also would end up having some very negative feelings about the situation.
So let me see if I understand that. It was really a unique discovery for you to find out that when you're dealing with people out here, inside you were talking to yourself.
Yes.
Was that a unique discovery for you?
Yes.
Because I noticed as we watched the tape that there are a number of times he's asking you what it is you do, and you say, I don't know what I do. And
Right.
then when he said, are you talking to yourself, that's when you became aware of it.
Right.
As a result of making this discovery, how has it affected your interaction with other people at this point in time?
It's improved it. It's made it a more comfortable situation to get into situations that I want to get into without all of the negative feelings.
And
And-
now we're 8 months down the road. Are you finding that the discovery you made then is still helpful to you?
Definitely.
Okay, so by discovering the fact that you're trying to carry on 2 conversations simultaneously and interrupting actually with one conversation, the externally one, that discovery has helped you to interact more effectively with other people?
Yes.
Have there been any things that you didn't expect? You knew what you found that day, but if you found this helped you dealing with authority figures is one area, have you found that helped you with other people?
Yes.
Any particular ones?
Groups of people, speaking in front of groups.
Oh, okay, so public speaking made a difference too. Do you mean before you tried to speak before an audience that you often had an internal conversation going about how you were doing or what you might be doing?
Or that I should get upset now because I was going to speak in front of a group.
Okay. I've had an occasion, a time or two, to watch you speak before an audience, and that didn't seem to be happening. You seem to be handling yourself quite well. So you've been using that.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'd like to mention the fact that there will be a manual coming out in relation to the tape. I'd also like to mention that Bill and I will be available to do training with other people, as well as Richard. Bill, is there anything you'd like to add as we
Well, I
close
think
up?
one of the things that, as people watch the tape, it seems so simple to watch what Dr. Bandler was doing that one might be tempted to say, well, I can do that. We really would like to give a word of caution that you not attempt to do NLP until you've had some training and some knowledge in that area. And people would find it exciting to learn that,
Yes.
but they would find it's not quite as easy as Dr. Bandler sometimes makes it appear.
Yes, it is. And that addresses about where they can get in touch with us or Dr. Bandler will be available at the end of the tape.
Yes. Mike, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
We enjoyed having you come back after this long period of time, and very happy to find out that your session with Dr. Bandler was worth the time and was a successful adventure for you.
Yes.